Previously on Maplestory the novel, Sacred Tears.
I thought you promised your Dark Alchemy would allow me to achieve eternal life.
Must I remind you that the king's requirements come first?
So you have said many times.
You know that I can only stay for a short while, my goddess.
Do you love me, or am I merely a device for furthering your research?
And now, Chapter 14, Part 3. Will was a teen of many interests, history being chief among them. For the past few months, he'd been researching the beginnings of Kritas and the various methods of creating anti-magic. But on this day, something else caught his attention, something more extensive. Jean-Maur Antas discovered anti-magic, or as others knew it, Dark Alchemy, nearly 200 years ago, a system of spells and matrices that mirrored magic and alchemy in every way within a negative space, bypassing all limitations presented by modern magic and alchemy. Its drawback was its negating effect in the area long after its use to ordinary magic in any form. After a few decades, Kritas citizens lost the spells to time, and all that remained was the Dark Alchemy. What Will discovered about its properties is what made him nervous. Usually, an alchemic reaction uses the energy of electric generators and the atomic combinations of the materials to allow reactions and formations to happen. Dark Alchemy's energy for reactions couldn't come from these sources, and instead used an unknown, unnamed energy to power the reactions within a given matrix. It was this energy that Will pursued, wanting to find the source. Kritas' expert on the art, Arkarium, and the king Hecaton seemed to care little for where the energy came from, only that it allowed them to do the impossible. For days, Will researched through every book in the library and even traveled to the Great Library in Eileen. After 8 weeks of searching, with tired eyes and a pounding head, Will found the answer. Someone called the White Mage had been studying the same phenomena and dubbed this energy the darkness of the world. Will searched for more information about this White Mage, but everything he could find would only cite the mage as a source of information, telling nothing of where he lived or what had happened to him. With the lead of the darkness to spur him on, Will plunged headfirst into everything he could find about it with renewed vigor. Within days, he'd discovered that the darkness wasn't just a random energy from the world. It was the collective sorrow, rage, and fear of people that died in the past. And after using that energy in alchemic reactions, what was left was a haze of pure hatred, preventing every kind of magic or alchemy from being used other than dark alchemy, and amplifying the energy further in a loop of constant amplification. With this discovery in hand, Will decided that he needed to speak with Arkarium, especially since it seemed King Hecaton was pushing the old wizard to create the Thrall Knights for an invasion of the Drakova Empire. But if these negative emotions drove Dark Alchemy, it could spell disaster for the world, especially if mixed with normal magics. Will's requests to meet with the old wizard were ignored or denied, even after requesting an emergency-level audience. With all his requests unanswered, Will brought his findings to the king directly. Hecaton appeared to listen with interest, but when Will finished with his findings, the king berated him, roughly escorted him from the palace, and told him that if he spread his findings further, he would be charged with treason and imprisoned. Picking himself up from the cobbled road, something in him began to boil. Anger surged through his being. The energy behind Dark Alchemy was dangerous. Couldn't anyone see that? Will needed someone with authority to listen and help him stop using this destructive power.
The White Mage. I need to find the White Mage,
he thought. Yes, the White Mage would have the standing he needed to make the king and Arkarium see how dangerous Dark Alchemy was. With renewed conviction, Will was about to return to his apartment when something struck him over the head and all went black. When he woke up, he hung from shackles in a damp room. Candles and wooden desks with different colored liquids inside surrounded him on the outer edges, separated by an open, heavy door. Guards dressed in heavy-looking armor stood beside him, almost like a statue. The chains loosened as he stood, allowing him a better view of his prison when he once again toppled over as the pain in his head rushed to him.
Hello? Is anyone there?
He called, listening to the unnerving echo. Quick footsteps approached as a woman with fire-red hair and revealing clothes entered the room.
Ah, you're finally awake. Hold him,
She commanded as the guards reached out and gripped his arms hard. Will breathed quicker and his eyes widened. The woman approached, holding her hand out as pale blue smoke began pulling from his body, making a chill envelop his being.
Come now. Can't you give me just a little whimper? It makes your soul so much more enjoyable.
She teased, her fire-red hair almost shimmering in the dull light surrounding them.
Who are you? What do you want with me?
Oh, that doesn't matter. You'll be gone soon.
But the energy providing the power...
Provides what we need to continue our research.
The woman sighed, coming closer and placing a hand on his chest, feeling his heart pounding.
If I let you continue, you'd no doubt attempt to stop me in my wayward practices. And I can't let you do that. Not when I'm so close.
She whispered into his ear, her red lips grinning with a malicious smile. She held her hand back again, drawing more of the pale blue smoke from Will when Arkarium walked in.
What are you doing, Hilda? I thought you would use this man's life force for the next leg of our research.
He asked, setting down his staff with a gentle metallic clap.
I will be. I was just hoping to have a little fun before I did.
Hilda pouted. Will chuckled nervously, drawing her ire again and her firm grip around his jaw.
With all due respect, ma'am, you're not that scary. Attractive and intimidating, but not scary.
Will fibbed, hoping he sounded confident. Dark clouds gathered around him as Hilda reached for his throat, drawing her free hand back as more ghostly smoke began to pull from Will.
There is a reason I am called the Reaper of Aswan, boy. Shall I give you a demonstration?
She asked, her eyes wild as Will began to feel his chest tighten and his breathing become labored. But still, he dared not show any fear despite the complete panic he felt.
Hilda, wait a moment.
Arkarium commanded. Hilda glared back at him, releasing Will with a frustrated huff, letting Will hang limp in the chains.
You have quite the fortitude of personality to face your death unflinchingly. I could use someone like you in our line of work.
Arkarium said, eyeing him from over his nose.
Not to sound rude, Master Arkarium, but if you're gonna make me an offer, you might want to do it without my hands in chains, or my life on the line.
Will countered. Arkarium flipped his hand, unlocking the shackles and dropping Will with a solid thud.
Now I remember. You're the whelp begging to speak to me about something. What could be so urgent?
Arkarium asked, putting a hand behind his back and standing with a prideful glare.
I've made terrible discoveries about Dark Alchemy and the energy powering its reactions. Kritas needs to stop using it, or disaster will fall upon the world.
Arkarium raised an eyebrow, putting a hand to his chin.
Is that so? Then tell me what you have found.
For the next hour, Will presented his findings on the energy powering Dark Alchemy, its residual energies, and what it was doing to the world. Arkarium listened stoically, occasionally asking for clarification as Will finished. For a long while, nothing was said. Arkarium walked to the far side of the room and looked over a formula he'd written out within the last few days, until Hilda leaned over and whispered something into his ear. Arkarium glared at her before turning around and putting an arm behind him.
You have provided quite a lot of information to me, some of which I was aware of, but not all, such as the effect Dark Alchemy had on the world. For that, I am grateful.
Walking to a country map hanging on the wall, he drew Will's attention to it by holding his staff against the yellowing parchment.
But Dark Alchemy is an integral part of Kritas, and cannot simply be erased from use. From this day forward, we can use it more responsibly if you join me and ensure we do not become careless. You have a sharp mind, a gift to propel Kritas to new heights.
Turning back, Arkarium held his hand to Will, waiting for him to take it.
Join us and help the citizens of Kritas.
Will hesitated, unsure about the quick acceptance by Arkarium, and even asking for his help. But the impression of willingness to change his ways eased Will's mind, especially if it would help Kritas and, by extension, the world. With a firm grip, the two shook hands as Arkarium's expression softened into a welcoming smile.
What do I call you?
Will Saren.
Welcome, Will. One of the Thrall Knights will escort you to your home. Tomorrow, I eagerly await your assistance.
Will grinned nervously as the large knight walked through the halls, guiding the young man to the streets. Hilda leaned against a desk, crossing her arms while glaring at Arkarium from under her brow.
What is it, Hilda?
Arkarium sneered, looking back to her over his shoulder.
You realize the king already doesn't want him messing with our work, so why invite him to work with us?
I have no intention of heeding his concerns, but letting him run free would be a much greater risk. He is young. I only need appeal to his love of this city, and he will see things our way soon enough.
When your fires all die out, all you know just turns to ash, and your life goes slipping, spinning into doubt. Sunshine trapped inside your heart, cold and lost and in the dark. Looking back on all this, nobody was there. Nothing left to lose. Gotta find the you that's hidden deep, deep down, and light the fire in yourself. Never be afraid to fall, throw yourself into it. Victory's waiting for you.